what's going on. Right away, tech issue. All right, there we are.
No, it's just me having muted everyone, and
we
I have to give everyone permission to unmute. How about that?
Yes. Well, actually, turns out the other foolish thing is that I have to have the screen for the closed captioning foregrounded on one of my windows, or the captioning stops.
Oh, that's a thing.
Yep. So I'll have to keep that in mind. So good morning, everyone. We're back. Hello to everyone who's watching this real time or on the pod, VOD, I suppose is the correct term.
The pod.
Yes, the VOD pod. Yes. Later on. No, not cardboard. You silly translator. And not usually translator. I said silly translator. No,
it's a very.
I'm just going to say
very polite and
it'll
nice.
learn you as time goes on.
Yeah, exactly.
The captions just refuse to let you insult them.
It's like the good place.
I was just going to say it sounds like something I'd code. So good morning, everyone. As I was saying, as you can see, brand new look. Thank you very much to Chantel, who's done all of the hard work in getting us looking fancy. We're also using
time.
Yes.
Create it, not just make it. It's not just like I find time in my day. No, I make time.
Yes, we live. And as well, we're using brand new streaming software. Hopefully it will resolve most of our issues. So stay tuned. We've added captioning that way, as you can see now, which is cool. I'm still going to get used to. Yeah. Okay. Okay. My screen is flipped, but I don't care. I'll worry about that another time. So here we are. So before we get started, I would like to introduce our special guest.
So exciting.
Yes. Hello, Nadine. Welcome.
Hello. It's me. Thank you so much for welcoming me here. Yay. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay.
Hi.
All right. So, real fast, we usually, everyone sort of knows everybody else, but could you give us a quick hello who you are?
Yeah, sure. I'm Nadine. I do the podcast thing. I do the streaming things sometimes, not very regularly recently. But I know Shawnee, and Shawnee is nice to me and has said, hey, join these really cool people for a little bit.
Yes, cool people doing cool things.
Yes, thank you.
Wait, Chantel's nice to you?
Oh, I'm sorry, Shawnee, I shouldn't have said that.
We'll talk about that later. And we'll talk about it. We'll discuss it some other time.
Nadine, did Chantel say that we were cool?
Don't tell them.
Yes.
No. I see I'm going to have to be more liberal with the mute button.
All right. So let's get started then. What I would like everyone to do is we'll start with Lucas. We'll go around the clock, and then I'll explain to Ranishi the circumstances by which she and her sister are arriving somewhere. No,
yes.
Not rolling for initiative just yet.
So we attack Nadine's new character.
Trial by fire.
I'm just gonna say,
literally.
We're not playing a superhero campaign. That's almost how every superhero game I've ever played introduces the new character. They get slugged by one of the existing players. So all right. So Lucas, recent events, if you would be so kind.
We were getting ourselves ready for our next part of the adventure. I was hanging out in the inn in my bedroom all day, pretty much recovering from being stabbed in the chest and the back with a sickle multiple times. I don't think stabbed is the right word. Probably hacked at is the
yes.
The
sickles are more choppy sort of things than they are stabby sort of things.
They take chunks with them, don't they? They
only if it gets you around the arm. Otherwise, it's just a very nice, clean incision.
Oh, it's just okay, great. So it's quite a clean. Well, somehow it managed to destroy most of my internal organs, so
yes,
I'm growing them back.
Yes, yes.
Pulling them out.
Yeah.
Alexandre has done a big heal on me. Didn't heal me up completely though. That being said, I am coughing up organs that need to be expelled before new ones can take their place. Or maybe the new ones are expelling the old ones. I don't know. In the meantime, my brother, Spider, arrived back. He brought milkshakes, 2 for me. Different flavors though, which is strange. And then Alexandre came by and said that I drank her milkshake. And that was awkward because I definitely didn't have any milkshake to share with her. We had many chats about the song and whether or not the song is... well, that was Alexandre and me talking mostly... I've written it down here. Alexandre... Oh no, it was just mostly a awkward conversation about milkshakes, actually. I'm thinking there was some actual point to our conversation, but no, it was just us awkwardly flirting. And then...
have you met us?
Yeah.
The phrasing on that.
I'm just going to say awkwardly, just us awkwardly flirting. There's just so many repetitive redundancies in that. I mean...
One thing I did write down that Chevalier said to me is that hiding pain doesn't make people worry less. So that was important because I wrote it down. And then we had a chat to the lovely Rachel Gray, who is very lithe and cat-like, and she said that she was going to talk to Aquidian because we need to get into the Underwelt in order to make our way over to across the seas. I think we're going to try and go that way instead of... I've forgotten the name of the town that we're going to. Dusseldorf. There. That's my recollection. That's where we left it, and I think we were just waiting for some acknowledgement that Aquidian had received our request.
All right. Alexandre, please. Where to begin, she says.
Well, we went to the Beggar's Temple, and Chevalier has absolutely no idea what he's capable of anymore, which is more than a little frightening. I'm not reading captions, but the sense is the same. I don't know what to do about the fact that I think I'm putting everyone in danger. And I'm going to have to do something about that. But apparently Lucas actually likes La Chanson now. So it's positive. But it's concerning because I suspect he's going to keep trying to use it. And, there's a pretty dangerous bitch out there. So that's good. Spider got me a milkshake, which I didn't expect. And is surprising in flavor. Who gets a passion fruit milkshake? That's disgusting. But the other thing about it is just, why did Spider get me a gift?
It's a trap.
Well, it's okay, though, if it is a trap, because Lucas had it. So I don't need to worry about that. But now, Lucas was awkwardly flirting, and I'm confused. equally confused because, hot Lucon is hot. So, Oh, she knows something about the red door as well. But I'm not entirely sure what. And now I kind of want to know about the red door. And that is my day.
Okay. Chevalier.
Everyone is coming to terms with recent events. Our fight with Genevieve it raised many questions, brought things to light. I have tried to investigate the origin of the sickle that we took from her, found it to be a previously holy object used in worship and rituals for the god Borodior, god of druids and the forest. But it has long since been debased and corrupted into this thing that it is now. I am also trying to come to terms that I have systems that I was not only unaware of, but may not be within my control. I do not like the implications of what that might mean, particularly for my companions. It is becoming increasingly apparent that this little group of ours consists it is for people who, in their own way, are trying to bear the burdens of the other three without seemingly realizing that that is what we are all doing, and it would be easier to bear them together. But we now need to get ready for our journey and what new adventures await.
Spider, tell us a story, mate.
So I bought a milkshake for my brother and myself, but then he was a pig and drank them both. So I told him that I got one for Alexandri to make him feel bad. Meanwhile, the group has decided we're going into the Underveld, so we met up with Rachel Gray, and she's going to pass word on to Aquidian to find us a guide. She did suspiciously seem to know more about the lead we got back in... which one? I've forgotten which city is which now. Back in...
It was at the mill.
It was in Breezy Point
Breezy
Bay,
Point
right?
Bay,
At the mill. Yeah. Yeah, about this suspicious red door that a member of the Silver Hand met their client in. However, Rachel didn't seem to have much knowledge of the Silver Hand. It just seemed to be something more to do with Aquidian's comings and goings, which is somewhat calming, actually, because I was very concerned about getting tied up with the Silver Hand. So I guess now we're playing the waiting game again until our guide turns up, and hopefully Lucas has learned his lesson about just drinking people's milkshakes, because I know he doesn't like passion fruit and he just went straight for it.
I was thirsty.
Growing boys need growing drinks, I guess.
something, yeah. All right.
I'm a man of passion.
Ah,
All right then. So let's see here. It's according to my notes. Yeah. All right. It was early morning on the 12th. Yeah, mid-spring, cool, around 15 degrees Celsius, 3/8 cloud cover. Yeah. Okay. So the wind had died substantially from the previous day. Things were looking a little bit more comfortable, and you folks were going to be having a good chunk of the afternoon to yourselves. Is it just going to be the waiting game? I mean, unless Rachel herself drops by, if you're waiting to hear from a Quidian, by definition, a Quidian can be incredibly stubborn if he has to be, vis-a-vis the first day you met him was broad daylight. But yeah, otherwise, the Ebon Elves, almost to a lot, are going to be waiting. Their your sunset is their sunrise, as it were. So, what are you going to be doing for your afternoon?
Lucas is going to go out and get milkshakes for everyone.
Okay. Now, by the way, this is one of the great things about utility magic. The first question you would ask is, how do you make ice cream in a medieval setting? It's really, really easy. You go, I now have a large block of ice, and then you make a milkshake.
It's a lot easier than getting a milkshake here in real life.
Yeah. Oddly enough, just creating the milkshake magically is a pain in the backside, but creating ice and then doing the rest of the stuff is much easier. So, yeah. So, milkshakes around here are a thing because this place is a north. If you take a look at the position on the map, you're just far enough to get into the mid latitudes at this point. It starts to get bloody warm around here in summertime. So milkshake is basically it's a snow cone that's been liberally mixed with ice and flavorings. But yeah, call it a milkshake.
Like it.
Yeah. So
great. I'm going to get a chocolate one for Alexandria. I'm going to get a passion fruit one for Jasper. I'll get a chocolate one for myself, and then I'll just get an empty cup for Chevalier so he doesn't feel left out.
Okay. Makes sense. So, you're going to be out doing that for a little bit of the afternoon. What's Alexandria up to?
Oh, I don't know. Probably just roaming the streets like a dangerous person. I don't know.
There are still bounty hunters after us, you nut!
Roaming the street like you're a dangerous person? Like you're just going to stab people?
No.
That
it's
is
what
being...
It's what the sheltered noble believes is what a dangerous person working through the town looks like. It's very funny. We should follow and watch.
But she's lurking. She's doing these.
The Belushi sneak, yes.
I literally said the first thing that came to my mind. I have absolutely no idea what Alexandria's doing. She'd probably go and she'd go to her room at some point.
And Nadine, I absolutely love the West Side Story moment there. That was just brilliant.
Just doing my part, people. Just doing my part.
Oh, keep going. Yeah, Chantal.
Yeah, she'd go to her room at some point, and then what does she want to do? She's going to go shopping because if we're leaving, she's going to need a change of clothes.
Sure. So, as you know, it's a pretty good sized city. I mean, it's a regional capital. There's all kinds of places to go shopping. How silly is she going to get in terms of available wealth?
I mean, does she? What's the maximum amount? Because like
so
when you say
this-
silly,
so here's the
"I'm
thing.
shopping."
So mechanically, it's very interesting the way that the game does it. So just one sec. I'm actually going to go grab.
She will not go above her wealth level.
Well, that was what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Just the chapter and verse on it's really interesting the way they do things. You guys are not actually wealth level 4, in spite of that's where you should be, and the reason
Why?
is ultimately because wealth level of 4 allows you to, I think, buy a castle or something ridiculous.
So she's buying a really nice outfit.
Yeah. So the catch is that
That's
while
worth a
you're
castle.
yeah, exactly. It's got crenellations.
It can
on
buy
so
a
it speaks
small
over-
ship.
You can, yeah. So
Right.
Why
Or
did we
elven-
just come up with that solution?
Yeah, it's like, what if we buy a boat?
Then we have to man it.
well, that
Ah.
yeah. So the catch,
Wait, we can buy a light tank.
which probably means a battle.
We have a
goat is possible.
chevalier. Battle goat and chevalier together at last.
I mean, what?
Yeah, she's just gonna go buy. It's not even. I mean, I say she's going out to buy really nice clothes. She's going out to buy essentially what amounts to like a really, really well made boiler suit.
Mm-hmm.
Something you could like climb into a hole and like not have a problem with,
Right.
but also like a Ralph Lauren. No, better. Like, well, that's too low.
Yeah.
Who's tailoring? She's looking for a tailor, and she's looking for someone to make her well-fitted clothes.
So, given the fact that you folks are technically on the run and really haven't had any massive chunks of cash fall in your lap, you are essentially functionally wealth level 3, not 4. Usually, wealth level falls in line with your character level, but essentially, because of the circumstances of the game, it doesn't make sense to do that. But you guys are functionally wealth level 3, which still means that fine horses. They say a nice car. Well, that would be a good stagecoach. A good chariot or stagecoach. You can
Chariot, you say?
I'm just going to say the equivalent of an armored trench coat. Silver bullets, that sort of thing. So you have excellent access in terms of money for personal level finery and equipment.
Mm-hmm. So somewhere between a boiler suit and a leotard.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at.
Sure. And just gonna say, and Nadine's
Oh, that
going,
reaction.
"Hello, what travesty?"
Like,
So we're taking fan art requests now. If we'd just like to, I don't know, knock
looking
something
for
out.
a flexible boiler suit or a slightly looser fitting leotard.
Is it a looser fitting leotard clothes?
What I just
What?
appreciate is the fact that the initial translation was Lucifer. A Lucifer leotard.
A Lucifer leotard. Which, for Alexandri,
Shopkeeper's like, you may have this leotard. It is for free, but the cost is great.
she'd pay it.
I mean, as long as you look better than Ramiki, right?
At the end of the day, isn't that all of life? Look better than Ramiki.
Okay, so you're out shopping, get yourself some essentially good spelunking, some fashionable spelunking clothes.
And items like, a length of rope if we don't have one,
Yeah.
presumably.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
Yep. All right. Cool. Spider, what are you up for the afternoon?
Shadowing Alexandria and making sure she doesn't die? I don't know.
I mean, I assume I'm with her as well.
I'm actually going to that was going to be the question, which was the reason I was leaving you for last, actually.
Well, I need to know the answer to that question, because if Chevalier ain't there, then then cue a montage of me killing people that are following her just before they grab her to kidnap her. I'm just like, gotcha.
Like
just
at
gonna
least 25% of them were actual threats.
I'm just going to say that this image of someone like this behind Alexandre, and then Spider like this behind them.
Yeah.
And Alexandre going, I'll take that one. All right, so Chevalier is following Alexandre around?
I mean, I don't have to be.
Well,
No,
that is the default assumption.
Okay, that is the default assumption. Very good.
Like, I have some other stuff that I'll talk to you about when you get to me.
Sure. But here's the thing: is that
but
I'm just going
Chantel
to say,
might actually want Alexandre there for that as well.
I was just going to say. So the question is basically if you want to risk Spider depopulating the town or not.
Only vaguely threatening people.
I think that would be hilarious.
It's just like, don't worry, it's only vaguely threatening people. Then they leave. There's like a beat. Then Chevalier's like, the Sunny looks up and sprints out the door.
All right. Okay. So what is Chevalier up to then?
Well, like I said, we're probably potentially going with Alexandre and also just like, any sort of like, I don't know what kind of like gear you need to go. I want to say spelunking, but maybe it's just hiking through the Underveld. But like, if there's stuff that is known to be important, I guess, make sure that we have rope, grappling hook. Actually, is there
a tourist's guide to the Underveld?
Does anyone like in like D&D terms like an ever burning torch? But something ideally more hands free.
Well, So this is okay. So what we get into here is actually making. Let's just really quickly cost that out. Because essentially what you're looking for is a custom magic item, and that's fine.
Kind of, yeah.
Like essentially, the D&D equivalent is the light globe, right?
I mean, like a crystal ball. Just bringing up the list of special equipment examples gives you the spying 6 Bane, and it's wealth level 3.
Yeah. So I mean, I would think property spying 6, wealth, health.
Potions of minor healing are 1. We should get a bunch of those.
Yes. So I mean, just kind of looking around. I mean, something as monumentous as the Book of Shadows is a wealth level 5 that literally allows you to summon monsters. Ghostfire, which is literally napalm, is wealth level 2. I would think that for jetpack is wealth level 3. I would think that for around wealth level 3 I'll figure it out later, but yes, you can essentially get the equivalent of a drift globe. So it's a crystal sphere wrapped in a few bands of brass and with a couple of things like opal on it that you sort of hold it, you push on it for a moment, you throw it up into the air, and it just kind of coasts to a halt and then begins to glow with the equivalent light of a torch. So yeah, and
probably
it sort of follows along whoever it is who's the last person to touch it.
Right, that was the other thing. I'd rather it be attached to me than float me unless it follows me.
Yeah,
if it follows me, that's fine.
Yeah. So for example, a worker robot is wealth level 4. And that is literally a Might 3 object autonomous. So yeah, I'm sure I can work out a way to get a drift globe down to wealth level 3. So yeah.
Saying at next wealth level, I can buy a kid.
Actually, it's literally a clockwork.
Do you mean,
Pint-sized mechanical creature made up of quite an array of moving parts covered in gears, knobs, and fans, and I'm completely ignoring what it was you just said because I don't like it. And while not always perfect in comprehension, it's useful assistant for day-to-day engineering tasks.
Jordy's face was so concerned.
Well, when someone says kid, I think goat. Like, are you kidding me? A baby goat? That would be a great gift.
Oh, it's like
raise it into a battle goat.
A baby battle goat. Battle goat, I assume, is the name of the species. It has no indication of how good it is in combat. They're actually very skittish.
Kid is what you're saying.
Yes, because people keep putting dwarves on them and riding them into combat.
They've never seen a battle go get to full size.
They just keep growing forever.
Yeah. Turns out,
The giants rode battle goats to war.
turns out that
I'm
mountain
building
is
this
actually
law.
a goat, and you have to go to it for wisdom. The other thing, and we don't have to do this.
You have to go.
I also in terms of things to do today.
Yes.
What was her name? Serafina. Wasn't going. She said she wasn't going to be able to be back in person until
tomorrow.
2 days, so tomorrow.
Yeah.
But she'd leave a note there today.
Yeah.
So at some point, swing by and pick that up. And the other thing, I would, if I don't know exactly where to do this, but I think I'd like to do essentially a systems check, but not in the city. Like, unless, like, say somewhere that's like out of the way and I'm not likely to damage people or property.
Oh, now you're going to be picky about this, are you?
You're right. Alexandria would want to be there for that.
It's more sort of like, I want to just check, but I'd like to not people.
Yeah, not nuke the town. All right. Let me just really quick put the map up so you guys can see it a bit better. All right. Magic button time. Map table. There we go. All right. So out to the south. So, oops, and it's spring flood. Let me put that on. There we are.
That's a good point.
So the problem is you're on an island right now. Like the back of the island, there's a wall that goes around the outside edge of the city. And then there's water around this side as well. So there's a little bit of a small woods and stuff over here that isn't showing on that map because it's just not part of the populate area. But it basically wrong button. There's literally a little bit of trees and stuff down this side and just more water because it's the spring flood. So the closest, if you hike the whole length of this bridge, you'll notice that, by the way, there's an off ramp here that leads into water. That's because the island that it leads to is also underwater. And so, it's a few kilometers this way to get to the next little substantial patch of land. Likewise, it's a couple of kilometers this way to get to the next substantial patch of land. You
potentially could do it underwater.
Yeah, well, actually, for you, yes, it just complicates things for Alexandria.
I mean, what? Why?
Something breathing.
No,
we can fix that.
I can fix that. I can. There are boons for that.
There are boons for that, she says.
I don't gotta breathe. I've got sustenance. I can sustain myself.
That reminded me of something.
I could just grow gills. Or, walk into the, oh my goodness, yes, I want to walk into the ocean, then walk out perfectly dry.
I was just about to check if I can make you immune to needing to breathe, and I can't.
No,
you can grow gills. It's fine. You handle it. Now, so that was actually something talking of boons and veins that I wanted to ask. So we had one of the priests check, one of the scholar, Maria, checked if Alexandre was being like actively watched with magic. And we were told we'd only be able to tell if it was like currently happening. So we still don't know if that is what's happening. But I was wondering if, because using the, what's it called? Resistance boon, because if I understand correctly, the spying Bane is against resolve. So if I would wonder if I could use the resistance Bane, selecting essentially scrying as the thing it defends against to up the resolve value, essentially.
Let me just read this here. So first thing is, so the bottom end is it's prescience versus resolve. It is a special. And the minimum power, it takes 10 minutes to do. And the minimum power level is 5. And that would require them to be within 1 mile. Power level 7 is more than, so power level 6 is 100 miles or less, which is 160 kilometers. And then power level 7 is more than 100 miles or 160 kilometers. So power level 7 is pretty hefty.
So like resistance it just increases the defense score against a certain thing, which is usually a damage type, like physical fire, lightning, whatever. But then in brackets, it's like other types may be approved by the GM. Yeah. So what is like, can we use it like keyed to someone trying to scry so that when they do that, there's the role is harder, essentially.
Okay. Hang on a second here. So you can spy on a person or area that you are familiar with. This power level determines the bane and maximum distance between you and the target. If successfully invoked, you can see and hear everything that goes on within a 60-foot radius of your target. Anyone within the targeted area who has a resolve defense higher than your prescience roll becomes aware of an unseen presence in the area, regardless of whether or not you succeed at the roll. So, for example, if someone was going to actively scry you, you could raise her defense. But for example, if they were to instead say, well, okay, I can't scry her, that didn't work. I can scry Lucas, however, because I know Lucas is traveling with her. They would roll against Lucas's stat. If the answer, however, was enough to beat Lucas's number, but then less than Alexandre would be aware of the fact she's being scried, or that someone's watching you. But it wouldn't actually stop it. So, yeah, so that's how that would behave. So, yes, you can essentially make it harder for someone to target Alexandre, but if they, at this point, they've all sort of met, if you're worried about Genevieve, well, bluntly, at this point, she's met the whole group. Specifically, she's literally drawn blood on Lucas and, directly. Depending on what sort of magic you think she's responsible for, that might mean she, quote, knows Lucas.
Yeah, well, I mean, we also don't know that that's how they're finding us. They could easily, as I think I pointed out, it's like, we're not exactly subtle. Like finding this group of people
for yourself.
Says
no,
maybe the least
for all
subtle.
Of us here.
What?
Like
so
we have one subtle person and it's canceled out by the other 3.
All right. So I think what I'm going to say is yes, you can. So
the whole also like her knowing it's happening is also useful because we can then respond.
Yes, exactly. You can start calling names and things.
Or cancel the bane.
Yeah. So I think what I'm going to do is I will, because of what it is you're trying to do and the fact that the floor is pretty powerful and the invocation time is pretty substantial and the fact that a miss counts, if you will, I think what I'm going to say, so you have to make a roll to trigger it, or is it just automatic?
It would be, I want to put the resistance boon on Alexandre. I would roll, and depending on the roll would affect the power level I can use up to the maximum power level I can use.
Okay.
I then have to maintain that. If any point I have to maintain a different boon, that goes away.
Okay. So what I'm going to say,
I want to use it for something, a different defense, I have to redo it.
Yeah. So what I'm going to say is you can either take 10 minutes to do it, or it's going to be disadvantage 1. So if you have to snap it on right away, then it's a disadvantage 1 on the roll. Otherwise, basically, because of the amount of preparation it takes to scry, I would presume that the defense is equally complex. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And where it's a non-standard defense, yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit more awkward. So yeah. Disadvantage 1 to just pop, and otherwise, it just takes 10 minutes for you to ramp up. So out of combat, it's just I take 10 minutes and do this.
Cool.
All right.
Well, I might do that.
Okay.
Just
so let's talk
not
about
like a tell her, but
yes. So let's talk about your systems check. So I would like you to make what exactly do you mean by a systems check?
Well, it's sort of partly because like the thing that when it popped up, it was something that was vaguely familiar, but I hadn't seen it before.
Yeah.
So it was a system within that, a Chevalier as a Praetorian has.
Yes.
That he just didn't know about. And there's a bunch that he knows about that aren't quite working at the moment. There's a bunch that he knows about that he's been sort of re-engaging as we progress, which is just him leveling up. And there's a bunch that he used when he was first adventuring that has let sort of go, essentially, and aren't coming back as quickly as he would like. But he'd basically check if he can tap into it again, that thing.
Sure. So what
and I think I don't know I know I've talked about it at least off game. I don't know if we've talked about it like during a show, but I do imagine that he's got a thing in his head that I think I described as being a cross between like Jarvis and Clippy.
Yes.
In that it's very, very much wants to help, but is entirely suited for the battlefield, and so day to day is awful.
Yes.
So the first step is just going like, Benno, show me this. And
so his literal daytime experiences, something along the lines of Lucas passes him an empty cup. Do you want me to electrocute the cup? No.
It isn't now, but it was like 45 years ago. And then he spent a long time making it not do that.
Talking it down.
Well, like the others don't know that, but none of the other three know this, but that's exactly what the combat restrictions are.
Yes.
When he says that.
Yeah.
Which I think only Alexandre can speak Count Giant King.
Yeah. So I think what I would like you to do initially is I think we're going to do this as a set of 3 rolls. The first of which is going to be to make a will roll.
Cool. 18.
18. All right, that's quite good. So then I'm going to ask you to make a learning roll.
Okay. 21.
Wow, awesome. And the last one's going to be a logic check.
Is Alexandre here?
5.
I couldn't have asked you to roll better than that. So Alexandre, so you've spent part of the afternoon trucking around, shopping, and then Chevalier has said he's heading off for a walk out to the other end of the bridge to blow something up, or
I'd be very clear with what I was doing to Alexandre.
Yeah. So it's entirely up to Alexandre if she wishes to be in the area in a weapons test zone.
Yes.
Okay. So I think it's going to take you the better space of an hour to conduct this. Just the walk, the goofing around, and then the walk back. I think what is probably going to be most disturbing is that you know, one of those things that everyone shook their head about the Star Wars prequels was the entire Order 66. How did no one know that? How did no one know that all the clones had an Order 66 that existed? Well, the answer was no one had ever asked them a direct question about it. So as a result, it never literally crossed their minds. So there was no reason that the Jedi would. The Jedi don't spend their time staring at the clones, going, "Do you have an order to murder us?" No, because it never came up in conversation. There was no reason to deceive about it, and so no one ever found out. There's sort of a bit of that going on here. I think Chevalier, a long time ago, had spent a fair amount of time getting used to his systems, but there was so much undiscovered about himself. Remember, literally woke up blank slate in the back of a wagon. And then, learning who all his new friends were and adventuring with them and blah, 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 that I don't think you've really ever taken a tremendous amount of time to dig deep, for lack of a better way of putting it. So this is probably, or not in recent history.
Definitely not recently, no.
And so I think what's going to be distressing is that you're going to realize that there's an entire chunk of you don't have access to. There's sort of three pieces of Chevalier right now. There is the part you're conscious of, the stuff that you can just do. There's the stuff you remember having been able to do, but is just inactive because of disuse. And then there seems to be an entire raft of systems that you just don't seem to have conscious control over, or actually ever have conscious memory of ever having used.
Fun.
Alexandria being in the area of this weapons test situation, how does the song react to that? Louder, softer, no change at all?
So the further you get away from the city, by the way, the more clear the song becomes. I don't think you've noticed that before. Because when you'd been on a ship and things were tumultuous, you rolled into the town, there was all this there was everything going on, there was noise and spectacle, and the whole place has an entire joie de vivre that you were completely unaccustomed to, that caught you off guard. And now that you're actually away from the city, I think you're aware that it's like a radio station that's slightly off tune. There's been always a little bit of static or a little bit of mud in the signal. But now that you're well away from the city, I think it's much more clear to you, the pull of the song leading you to the northwest. And as far as Chevalier, messing around with trying to figure things out, randomly roasting a small tree, terrifying a passing bird, that sort of thing, I don't think the song seems to notice much right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm assuming nothing, other than being aware of this, admin restricted area.
Yeah.
But I thought I had admin rights. Oh no. Why would you give the computer admin access? I didn't. Oh. I should just it just doesn't do anything. It's just
yeah.
It's not like he activate. It's yeah. I think at some point he does sort of cycle through the blade of armor and other things like that. And so particularly because Alexandre is there is a point where he starts moving faster, essentially. It looks like he's doing practice swings, and then he's doing it much faster.
Yeah.
And then he sort of pulls down, but as he's coming back, it's a little bit obvious that there's sections of his his regular armor is still kind of ablative in design, it's designed to shatter to disperse force,
right?
But partly because it repairs quite quickly. But it does mean that if he takes damage, it does look a little shocking if that aspect is not clear, which he's not made that clear to anyone in the group. So when he comes back, it looks like he's damaged himself, basically. Like where, like particularly on his arm and like down the side, it's like he has stressed his systems.
Yeah.
And there's just like, stress fractures through his armor, which are now like being fixed. You can like see them repairing, but they are very visible when he sort of stops.
Okay. All right. Anything else you're going to want to do?
I'm conscious that we still need to that I sort of took over Jamie's description.
I was just going to get back to Jamie now. Yeah.
I assume at some point we want to go to the temple to pick up the note, and I almost guarantee that Chantel has questions that Alexandre would like to ask of Chevalier after seeing him hurt.
Yes,
but
we'll sort that out in a little bit. All right, so hike up to the temple. There is actually going to be a note left in the spot. What it basically says is that the druid is unavailable currently. Will be, however, in 2 days will be. They will actually be doing a small service here, and you are invited to attend. So both she and the druid will be there.
Do we know when we're...
No, you don't.
Setting off. All right.
You're literally waiting for word.
I will leave a note that basically says I might be gone by then, but if I'm not, I'll come.
Okay, good. Okay. And that brings us back to Spider. So, given the fact that you do not have to spend the afternoon preventing Alexandre from being mugged, abused, carried off, ransomed, etc., what is Spider doing?
Oh, just mugging, abusing, carrying off nobles for cash. No, honestly, laying low.
All right.
Mostly,
yeah.
I think. Yeah. I don't think there's it. Yeah, he's done the shopping that he needs, really, for until we know exactly what we're getting ourselves into.
Okay. Very good then.
So I think he's just. He tells Lucas that he's going out, so that he doesn't have to listen to him complain about regrowing his organs constantly. But I think he also spends plenty of time with Lucas, beating him at cards, probably.
Yeah. All right. Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah, as far as complaining goes, that's like, oh, that's my spleen. Oh.
All right.
It didn't even regrow that.
There's, I think that's definitely my heart. Oh.
All right.
You didn't have one.
Boom, boom.
Ouch. Shots fired. All right then. So, go away, Apple.
It's a shame she didn't grow you a new brain, really.
All right. So the afternoon's going to go by with things largely done. So we're going to shift our view to a small, dark, and dingy neck of the woods in the city, which is the industrial quarter. Essentially, if you will, hang on a second, I'll put it up on the map very quickly. It is this area. And because we can do this, we'll do that. Yeah, there we go. That looks pretty good. Oops, stop that. There we are. There, that's better. So this area is the industrial district of the city. And just about up in this corner, I don't know how well that shows through on the live stream, there's a group of small buildings. And we're looking specifically at this one over here, which has a fence around it. And the camera, if you will slowly make its way through one of the windows, which is actually got shutters over it, and into a room where a a elevator, if you will, is coming up to the surface with a tremendous rattling and clanking. And there's a couple of humans and a fairly sturdy dwarf who are in the process of one of them, the dwarf, is in the process of operating a winching mechanism. The two humans, one of them's obviously a guard, and the other one is obviously a courier of some kind. And on the elevator, we are going to see two familiar faces. Well, one familiar face and one not familiar face. The familiar face, of course, is going to be Ramiki. Sorry, I keep doing that. Not Ramiki. Renamala. In her wheelchair, with her pile of adventuring gear, wiping the sleep from her eyes, looking ever so slightly haggard, and complaining about having had to get up so bloody early to go traveling. With her, Nadine, could you please describe your character?
Okay, so Renee, she is a female Ebon elf, shorter than their sister, should they be standing, medium stocky build, have like a bluey grayish skin, one violet eye and one is like a muddy orange, and they have bluish gray hair, which is shortly cropped on the sides and at the back, and then there's like a messy top muss at the top, which is in the process of being tied up, so she looks a little bit more put together this early in the morning, and she's wearing like a kind of simple robe with maybe like a leather tunic on the top that kind of pulls a little closer. Very modestly dressed, and is very quietly listening to the grumpy complaints of her sister.
So you two have just sort of done the it's about 4 minutes on the elevator from what amounts to a base camp below. So things that you are aware of, just so I don't know how much you've double checked. The Ebon Elves, of course, being underground dwellers, do have a sun sensitivity. One, inherently, you have the ability to see in the dark. Your trade-off for that is that if you are in sunlight, bright daylight, you are doing everything at disadvantage 1 or 2, depending on how bright it is. A cloudy day is disadvantage 1. A bright sunny day is disadvantage 2. It's literally painful. For lack of a better way of putting it, you are UV sensitive. That is sort of the trick. The Ebon Elves are, of course, a species, whatever you want to call it, a culture. That's the phrase I'm looking for. Thank you. Very similar in many respects to pop culture, Renaissance Italy. And so one of their greatest giggles, if you will, is this wonderful misconception all the Skysiders have, is that, you people live in a dark, dirty hole in the ground that never sees that has no light, and you have to go by rope and chasm everywhere, which makes, of course, no sense whatsoever because your sister is sitting right beside you in a wheelchair. Yeah, you can't spelunk. Yeah. Well, I mean, she spelunks just fine in a wheelchair, but wouldn't bother putting wheels on it if there were no flat surfaces. The Ebon Elves are sufficiently resourceful. It would just be a hover chair and be done with it. So, and yet the Skysiders perpetually miss these little details in their presumptions about what life in the Underwelt is like. So it's a long way down. So, for lack of a better way of putting it, most folk who are not immediately having to do business within the city, Equidian, your cousin Equidian specifically, basically lives Skyside permanently. He's a weirdo. He's also...
Yeah, Skyside.
Aquidian is one of Aquidian specifically is one of those people who his work, and you know him for this, he's sort of celebrated and at the same time eye-rolled about, is the best way of explaining Aquidian. 1 second, let me just double find. Here we go. Deep Elves. He's an emissary. Prestigious family line, whose task is to deal with the humans, etc. on behalf of the matriarch. Well, this is considered a substantial honor to the family. For the individual, it can be a mixed blessing that involves hours and years spent away from the core of Ebonkin life in the Grand Caverns, and instead in bright sunlight of strange and sometimes hostile lands. So Aquidian is one of those people who has decided to live absolutely larger than life in both societies. He is outrageous in practically every extent of what it is he does, to the point of irritating the hell out of the matriarch some days. However, he's so good at his job, she lets him get away with it, which irritates everybody else.
Brilliant.
So, Renamala tolerates Aquidian, mostly because she's been explicitly told not to shoot him, because that's crossed her mind at least once. And but Aquidian is one of the rare folk who actually lives skyside pretty much permanently. He doesn't bother with the base camp. He alternates between the estate, which isn't an estate. The actual estate is in the Underveld. Aquidian has basically bought a party island.
Sounds like Aquidian.
Yeah, because he realized early on that the only way to deal with the humans around here, and this was 40 years ago, was to impress the crap out of them with expensive houses. So he simply bought an island and built an expensive house on it at considerable sum of himself.
Gotcha.
And so the Skysiders have all mistakenly presumed that is the Ebon Elf estate. Because any time that they're going to have a big party where the Skysiders are invited, that's where it happens. Which means that this little dingy hut in the back left-hand quarter of the industrial/slavery district of the city is pretty much a not known. This shaft leads to the base camp. It's, like I say, about 500... It's about 5 minutes elevator ride to give you an idea how deep the base camp is. And the base camp is about a third of the way down before you get to the Grand Cavern. All right?
Yep.
So you received word that you were going to be helping, your sister received word, and thereby informed you, load your stuff up, we're going. That they were going to be leading a group of people she rather likes. Likes in that sort of wants to hit them with the blunt end of the crossbow periodically, but that's about as close as like as your sister ever gets. To basically get them to where's here. Karasadus. I'll put the name in the chat. Karasadus is about a third of the way to where they want to go. You don't know much more than that because, apparently at that point your sister's either going to have to do some research, or literally you're going to have to hand the group off to someone more experienced, because where they're going neither you or she have ever been.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to ask a question. What's is this your first time being Skyside?
I think it's one of the handful of times.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been dragged unhappily by my sister up there a couple of times. I think once or twice I may have been invited to one of the parties and hated every single moment. But did my societal duties and pretended like I liked it.
Yeah.
But I think they much prefer not to be Skyside.
Yeah. So the pop culture definition of agoraphobia is a fear of big open spaces. Well, it's not actually the case. It's a fear of crowded spaces, in fact. It's literally the fear of the public market, if you will. But I think in your case, there's probably going to be a faint unease as you guys walk out. The courier had a letter to pass to Renamala as soon as you guys got up. Of course, the guard salutes the two of you. He's hired help. You folks are Ebonelf. By definition, that means you're in charge. He understands that. The dwarf is just a grumpy chap whose job is to make sure the machinery that hefts the thing up and down continues to heft the thing up and down, and bluntly, as long as he gets paid, he really doesn't care. So yeah. So as you two are heading out into the street, she's kind of, gives her chair a little bit of a push and flip, and as she's coasting along on momentum, flips open the letter. Okay, that's where they're staying. Why would you stay there if you? Never mind. She'll tuck that away. So yeah, I think this is probably for you going to be one of the worst nights, and by which I mean it's actually mostly cloudless night. So there's no comforting level. There's no reasonable imagination of a ceiling. It's just this big vertical column with all those little twinkly bits up there. It's kind of open.
Yeah.
Even your sister will every once in a while glance upwards uncomfortably. It's sort of... You're aware that Equidian actually rather likes it. Apparently his two sisters actually do okay with it. But for you, it's just weird. Yeah.
And she does that instinctive thing of squinting.
Yeah.
And then going,
does it have to do that? So you, Equidian's two sisters, by the way, are Zadreza and Jazina. You know them both well.
I do.
Zadreza is the no-nonsense one of the pair. She's... if you will, she is her job is basically... she's her brother's keeper, functionally. Her job is to make sure that... is to basically keep an eye on him. Because he tends to play his own games. Every once in a while, he gets way too caught up in human politics for the matriarch's own good. And so sort of her job is to make sure that he's not causing... him meddling in Skysider affairs is not a problem unless it becomes a problem for the matriarch. Jazina, comparatively, is the nasty spy girl, is the best way of putting it. She is if your sister has zero compunctions about unloading a crossbow bolt into anything that vaguely looks like it might threaten an Ebonelf, Jazina has absolutely no compunction about putting a dagger into the kidney of anything that might vaguely look like it's going to threaten the family.
Gotcha.
All right. You are aware that because of just practicalities, there's a Lucon involved around here. The Lucon are literally a lianoid race. There's something about her being Jazina's body double, but you have no idea how that would work because Jazina is really short and slightly portly, and Lucan are never either of those things. So also Lucan, Lioness, Jazina, obviously Ebon Elf. You've no idea how that would work as a body double thing. Magic is good, but there are limits. So yeah. So you folks are going to be on. So you and Renamala are making your way through the district. It's just after dark. The sun, there's a thin, faint glow left on the horizon. Like I say, when I say you two are up early, I mean the sun hadn't started breaking, it hadn't started setting. You know, when the wake up call at the base camp was given for you two. Get your gear together, get onto the elevator, and take the ride up to be here basically as soon as the sun was low enough to be tolerable. So, of course, for you and she, it's there's a ridiculous amount of lighting here. The Ebon Elf don't like living in the dark. They have all kinds of sources of luminescence, and they practically make an art form of it. But it also tends to favor the spectrum that the Ebon Elves see best in, which is the far reds and the deep blues. So all of these yellow and white colors that the humans groove on, yeah, whatever. They kind of just wash everything out, right? So you'll be making your way along. This city here is pretty substantial. It's a couple of kilometers easily from edge to center. It's a regional capital. It's part of the reason that the matriarch uses this as her spot for her embassy, and thus for where Aquidian is based out of. You are aware of the fact that there's something about the matriarch and the topsider government of the greater polity here, the Confederacy, that she just not fond of them for some reason, but you're not sure what the details are. Bluntly, it's none of your business. You are a cousin, but that doesn't mean you know all the family secrets. You know exactly enough to get to be safe and to get your job done. So in the process of hanging out with Renamala, you've sort of learned a few things that possibly aren't your business, but you were going to, so now they are. Does that make sense?
100%.
All right. Renamala very recently spent some time rehabilitating after a nasty run-in with, hang on a second, with Verblidren. Verblidran, sorry. A minor one. Rare that she gets ambushed. She usually sees them first, but that wasn't the case. Got herself pretty badly beat up, and so, but also was acting the protection of a family member at the time, and so basically her convalescence got picked up by the family's tab, and she got to spend time out at the estate. So you actually haven't seen her in a while. It's actually been recent that she's been back home. For whatever reason, the Dashamali felt that her being up at the estate was better than being, at home in the Underveld. You suspect that had something to do with politics, but you don't know what. So, what are you two talking about as you two are heading over to where the to the address that you were given about where you're going to be meeting your new wards?
I think there's like an amount of small talk that's happening that is just cover for why you getting yourself hurt. That's not what I'm happy with. You're crossing a line.
Yeah.
As families do, they don't talk about their issues. They just talk around their issues.
Yes.
And so I think that's definitely what they're doing. They're talking around. Hey, you got hurt. Don't do that. Stop doing that.
Sure. I think as is her tendency, after a few minutes of putting up with that, she's just simply going to change the topic and give you the once over on the people you're going to be dealing with. I should, by the way, your actual family last name, and I should post this for you, is this. I forgot to mention this prior. Is there's supposed to be hang on a second, I completely screwed that up. Anyway, I'll give you the proper version of that. I forgot. I just typed it in without actually bothering to put the apostrophes in. There's an apostrophe after the L and an apostrophe after the R.
Gotcha.
So, like I say, you are not actually Dashamali. You are cousins of the Dashamali.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, which means that ultimately your first loyalty is always going to be to Kelnardian. But Dashamali is the greater house of the two, and so it is advantageous often to use the Dashamali last name. You can get many more doors opened with the last name of Dashamali. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So, so you two are going to be chatting back and forth in Ebonelf. Ebonelf is if you will, a dialect of General Elven, in the same way that you can say that Texan is a dialect of Londoner.
Yeah. Yes.
Technically, they're both
Sorry,
speaking
who
English.
says that? Who says that? No, Texans are not speaking English. No, they're speaking Texan. That's actually what's happening.
Exactly, and that's the opinion.
Sorry, I'm happy to sit and listen, but when you blatantly lie to us,
When you
But you
tarnish
can
the
say
English
it.
language.
when
Put
you
those
lie.
words together.
And that's exactly my point. The Texan's convinced he's speaking English, and so's the Londoner, and is the Canadian in the room. I'm laughing at the two of you. So, good morning, Great Mustache.
Oh, great mustache. No. Oh no.
So,
As an English person, I feel far more comfortable with the New Yorkers and the Texans thinking that they're speaking English.
They can
Because
think.
we know who the real superior is here, Great Mustache.
When they
It's me.
start paying tax on English, then they can speak English.
Oh, don't tell the Americans they want to pay tax.
So
There was like a whole war or something. I don't know.
something.
Apparently it was a big deal.
Give me back my tea. So.
Good tea. All right. So Renamala will give you the quick rundown on the folks you're going to be meeting in a few minutes. So there's, I'm not sure what to make of the automaton. He goes by the name of Chevalier. She says. She kind of waves her hand. Thinks he's smarter than everybody else, has a protector streak, has no clue what he's doing, but he's useful to hide behind. He's mostly made out of metal. There's another one hanging out with him, Lucas. He's your typical knight in shining armor lad. Again, best thing he's got is looks. He's not half bad. He's easy on the eyes. And he hasn't stabbed himself with his own sword that I've seen.
Always a plus.
The next one of the lot is actually the vaguely competent one, which calls himself Spider. Is actually, I think it's Jasper. I can never get the pronunciation. Jasper, I think it is. Something like that, yeah. Anyway, he goes by the nom de guerre of Spider. He's one of those. Roguey type, figures if he uses a special name, it makes him special. He's actually quite good, though. He hides pretty well. I have trouble seeing him. And then there's the diva. Just, something. Alex. Alex is amusing, but the biggest single problem is all of the other three have a habit of trying to dive in front of her or thinking they're protecting her, and she's convinced she's protecting them. And then the other thing is she thinks, I think, if I overheard correctly, because they all yell, none of them are capable of holding a quiet conversation. It's always hands in the air at the top of their lungs. Is that she thinks she's like saving God or something. I don't know.
Saving God?
Yeah.
Which one?
Good question. The one that the important one, of course, because it's her. She's a diva. She eye rolls.
Yes.
So, yeah. Anyway, so like I say, the objective here is for us to get them to Crusades, and then like is that healing pride damage, Chantal?
No, just I don't know if it's healing or maybe just darkness, because we've got to hide this truth that's come out. We can't have it. It's too much.
She's good.
I'm okay with both the inaccurate and accurate things that she just said about Chevalier.
I'm okay.
I'm
Everything
also
she said
amused
was
by
true.
both.
Everything she said about
Factually
Alexander was
not,
true.
but all right.
So anyway, our job is just to get them to Crusades, which shouldn't be that hard. I'm thinking we'll take. We'll either take one of the crawlers, or if we can get lucky and take the ship, we'll scare the hell out of them. Just
I mean,
because
it scares the hell out of me too. So.
Well, yeah, but she giggles at you. A little bit of excitement in one's life it keeps the blood pumping, don't you think?
Sure.
She's going to basically put the brakes on, spin the chair, and look at you. You're not going to do that again, are you? I'm not. We've got like a minimum of 5 days from the point we get going to where we get to Crusades. I really do not want to be listening to you the entire time, regretting your life choices. Pretend at least that you're going to have fun once.
I'm going to have a fabulous time. Don't worry. It's going to be great.
Work harder on your pretending, she says, and then starts rolling again. So we're going to fade there as they're rolling up to the door of the inn. And we're going to take a quick break. And then we will have the group meet their new friends, or new friend and new friend and old friend. I don't know if friend's the right word, but anyway, accomplices, escorts, whatever. So yeah, so we'll be right back, folks. Oh, we've just done that again. So I just realized we don't actually have because we're using the new software, we don't actually have a button for me to push to do the thing where we all have a break screen. So yeah, give me a sec. I'm going to quickly put a break screen together, and then we'll be right back. Embarrassing. There we go.
We can talk amongst ourselves.
Yes, go ahead and chit-chat for a
Yeah.
moment.
Let's
Time to heat up
chit-chat.
yeah. And let's see here. So I don't know if anyone can just check if are we still audible now that I've flipped off that screen?
Probably.
I think we are. Yeah.
Yes. Well, you are.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone-
Yeah, you are.
okay.
We all are. It's lovely.
We all are. Excellent.
Right.
Yay.
All right. Yeah, I knew I'd forgotten to do something last night in all of my flailing and panicking.
Well, I mean, realistically, I started doing that while we were talking and then stopped.
Well, I was just going to reuse the one we'd done from before, and I just forgot to copy it into the right folder, so now I'll just do that really quickly.
I have got a dog just back and forth under a green screen. Sit down.
Comes with a green screen.
So you're saying we
By-
have 2 guest players.
Mhm,
2 guests.
mhm.
Hop up.
One's a dog, the other one's a bitch. Guess which one?
I mean,
No.
shots
You
fired.
said it.
It's Puck. Puck's a bitch. I'm kidding.
That's really rude to say about Puck.
Right. What a cutie.
Oh, fuck. Animal stream.
All right, this is the stream now. We're all
No,
gonna
the
sit and
audience
watch.
can't see it.
I just guess, yeah. This
Oh
is,
no!
Yeah, hang on. I'm trying to fix that, but well, hang on a second. Just hit save.
We can describe what we see. So
Flip back.
Chantel
It's
is
gonna take me a moment here. There we go. There we are. We have
Chantel is holding up her dog. Oh,
Yes.
we're back, are we?
Yeah, so I've got to rearrange a couple of files, so I'll flip this until I'm ready to get the background thing done, so that everyone can enjoy the puckness that is Puck. The puckness that is Puck. I'm probably reaching there, but
If you want,
Puckitude.
you can zoom in to your tab and just look at Puck, because that is what Shawnee wanted at the beginning. Simply a photo of them.
Yeah.
Occulization of the stream.
All right.
Technical term.
Yeah, exactly.
We all know what needs to be clipped this episode.
All of us getting pucked.
All of us getting
I mean,
a heavy
awkward.
pucking is now the name of this episode.
I mean, I'm trying
A
not.
puck by any other name?
I cry now.
I am but a gentle puck.
Awkward. That's credits. That's backdrop. What's the?
Why not just go to the map and we'll all just mute?
Oh, good.
Can we do
And
that?
then we'll just
do you
take a
think we can
break.
actually do
Yeah,
that?
let's do
I'm not
that.
sure we can do that.
Absolutely.
All right. And there we go. All right, we're back. I'm sure I'm not sorry, folks. Chantal had done a tremendous amount of work on a really cute little animation explaining how I got to the point where we were. We're just learning. I'm learning brand new software, so I thought it was going to be just as easy as dropping the MP4 in. And but apparently not. Apparently there's magic that I need to finger wiggle, and I'm not going to get into this. Hey,
I'll send you the usable one. I believe there is a thingo to be done.
There's a thingo.
Yeah.
The thingo, of course. Hey, Phoebix Joy. Hello, welcome. How you doing? Welcome. So yeah, and then I need to go do this over here so captioning works. There we are. Hey, captioning works again.
Huzzah.
Yeah, so that's a quirk we're going to have to be aware of, is that if I, for whatever reason, have to background the caption window, captioning stops, which makes things like the moving the map around kind of awkward. So I'll just need to remember that.
Whenever the map is moving, no one speak.
Don't say a word.
Don't say
Well,
anything.
that's when we say like the real stuff.
Say stuff you don't want a record of.
No,
Other
no,
than the recording
just
of
don't
you
say
doing
it.
it.
I'll just start typing
inappropriate
it in
jokes
chat.
when the map is moving.
No, I'll start typing it in chat. Everyone deserves to know
You're
exactly
enough,
what you're
Chantel.
doing.
That's what
No,
you are.
everyone. It's accessibility. Anytime someone's making a noise, everyone should know about it.
Say it,
Mhm.
it out
Does
loud.
it matter
whole
what noise
point
we're
of this.
making?
Yes, it actually does, Drew, and don't you dare. Thank you.
I will mute you, and then I will kick you. But I'll mute you faster than I'll kick you.
It's okay. I haven't had any milk today. It's all good.
And you think I'm muting you on Zoom and kicking you on Zoom? I will kick you in real. I know where you live.
She knows where you live.
Just down the road, I will get to you and I will kick you in person.
And I need a GIF of Chantal executioner kick
I
style.
want it to be this like a page on the stream which is like technical difficulties, and it's just a chibi version of Chantel kicking Drew.
I will pay for that artwork. All right. So the lot of you are going to have just been finishing up supper at the inn. You are staying at the Lazy Sky, and the food's not bad. It leans somewhat heavily into the owner's a dwarf, and so the palate tends to lean very heavily into vinegars and strong spices. So if that's not your taste palette, I have bad news for you. Well, actually, I have good news for you. There's a restaurant down the road.
Sounds delicious. It sounds like Mediterranean food or something.
Yeah.
Into it.
Well, the catch, of course, with the dwarves is that generally speaking, is that their primary concern is they live in generally one of two climates: frozen solid and mountain swamp. So neither of those are conducive to you either freeze dry everything, or you salt the hell out of it so you don't have to freeze dry everything, or you pickle it, right? So yeah, lots of spices, lots of vinegars. If you will, the French are famous for having like 180 different varieties of grape entirely dedicated towards producing a vaguely different taste of wine depending what valley you happen to be standing in. The dwarves are like that when it comes to making vinegars. So yeah.
I love watching Shawnee fight with Puck.
Walked in and then just pushed the green screen. You can't see it because it's flat, but he pushed the green screen like almost to the point where it was falling over, and then sat down and looked at me like, well, you shouldn't have put it there.
Your fault.
All right.
I'm just gonna say, I thought you had a dog, not a cat.
So did I.
Dog, cat dog.
So we're having our vinegar soup.
So yeah, and Runamala and somebody else you don't recognize wander in the door as you guys are all finishing up supper. Runamala, much as you recall her, the armored assault wheelchair, the fairly hefty stack of adventuring gear. She just every time you see her, she just I can't remember. Was she at the ball? I don't think she was.
Yes, she was there.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Definitely there for the first month.
It was like, yes.
Yes.
I know this.
It's like, as far as I recall.
Okay. Thank you for letting us know. I'll turn the gain up on the microphone. So yeah, so the that's right. I think it's the only time you've ever seen her not loaded up in ready to go to war equipment. I think it was the ball. But otherwise, she's pretty much as you're used to seeing her, ready to go to war. Adventuring clothes, the usual kit, the usual saddlebags packed full to the point where one of the buttons gave up long ago. That sort of thing. And with her is another ebon elf. Just really quick re-summary of what she looks like.
Renee, she looks like an ebon elf. She's a little shorter than her sister had she been standing up. Medium stocky build, blue grayish skin with one violet eye and one like muddy orange. With bluish hair that is cropped at the sides and back, and like a tousled musk of hair at the top that is currently in a bun, and wearing robes that has like a kind of shaped leather tunic at the top that resembles maybe some form of very basic leather armor. She's not nearly as battle ready looking as her sister.
All right. Runamala, as I recall, has got a bit of an accent when she speaks Common. I can't remember. Does she know that you all speak Elven in some degree?
I don't think we've spoken Elven near her.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm a half elf. I think I have, probably.
If she was at the meeting with the matriarch, then...
Oh, yes. Then she would know.
Yeah, okay. So I don't think she was at that meeting, but I think she would have heard of it. And I think most of the affairs at the Grand Ball, the Fisher Festival were in Ebon Elf by default. So she speaks regular Elven, if you will. That's not what with an accent. Again, it's Londoner versus Texan. It's technically it's all English. But she manages. So she'll start out in common. What?
I was trying to say.
Because we've often shorthanded Elven as French, I'm really enjoying the image of this French conversation, but one does it in a London accent, one's doing it in a Texan accent, but it's everyone's speaking French.
Yeah, I've no idea. I'm actually French, and I'm trying to figure out how I do y'all in Asti. No, I can't. I just can't.
Yeah.
I mean, just what the hell? I'm gonna be up all night with that now. I don't like you anymore.
I feel like it would be like when French delves into English and becomes super cool, like that.
Well, that's that's hyper Quebec. Maybe that's it. Maybe it lean into the whole Gaspésie accent.
Mm-hmm.
You Gozolien, why?
To be fair, French Canadian is quite literally Texan French.
Yeah,
it is something else. Growing up, learning how to speak French, having French friends, that makes sense. Listening to Canadian French speakers, I'm like,
different. It's a new language.
What is that?
Well, it's funny because excuse me for the wild sidebar here, but if you learn French outside of Quebec, you learn Parisian because all of the English school boards buy French textbooks from France.
Yes.
Yeah. If you learn French from inside Quebec, they all buy it from the same two publishers in downtown Montreal. And Montreal is largely an English-speaking city. The only thing, if someone tells you they're bilingual in Montreal, is they speak French and one other language. There's no guarantee. I met several bilingual people where their second language was Russian, interestingly enough.
As you do.
Yeah, as you do. But yes, and then you've got the regional dialects. Everyone kind of jokes. Everyone in Montreal jokes about what the gang out towards the Gaspésie sound like, and the gang in the Gaspésie all joke about what the Acadians sound like in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia.
Cut to me failing in high school French because up until I got to mid-late high school, all of my teachers had been French of France, and then we get to the Quebecois French teacher that I had for 2 years. I learned a different language. Yep. I learned a whole different language.
It's simple stuff in proper quote proper French. Gasoline is l'essence. In Quebecer, it's gasoline. In Gaspésie, it's gaz. G-A-Z.
Yeah. The problem is it was all examined in French from France.
Yes.
So had a problem.
Right.
18-year-old me was like, but I'm doing it right.
Except for
I remember seeing
the way I was taught, at least.
A stand-up, and she had this whole bit about, being, Australian, but had learnt French, and then being like, I should be fine in Canada, but having one night where she sort of, I think she described it as got very drunk to sort of, because the further away from Australia, the more Australian you had to be. So sort of was very drunk and then ended up having this almost existential panic attack because she thought she'd forgotten how to speak French because everyone else around her wasn't making sense because they weren't speaking Parisian French. They were speaking Quebec French, and she was drunk. And so she was just like, what's going on? It was just this horror moment where she's like, I've forgotten language. I'm so drunk. This is bad.
To be perfectly honest, that's when any English person goes into Glasgow and you're like, what? Is that English?
Glasgow.
I got these two Scottish guys, and this is just in Brisbane years ago, but they came up. I was leaving work and they came up and started talking to me. I couldn't for the life of, I was just like, I don't know what you're saying. And they sort of ended up talking very slowly. And I discovered they were asking for directions to the pub. And I was like,
you should have just assumed.
I was like, yeah, I should have just assumed.
You were like, they're Scottish. I'm assuming.
Apologize entirely.
All right, so let's get back to the game because while I'm using this is a wide diversion.
Can I tell? Can I tell one?
Difficult
one,
about
one,
Glaswegian, you love it.
No.
Oh.
Can I tell
nearly
one
thick enough.
tiny story and then we can go back?
Yes, but the problem if you tell one tiny story, then Drew
so
has to
short.
tell a very long story.
It's
because
true.
Drew can't tell
That's
a short
true.
story.
That's stories. No.
I can tell you about my friend and her 3 dogs.
No,
Okay,
that's a
later.
long story.
Later.
We don't want that
So meanwhile, back at the game. All right, so yes, so Renamala will and the other person will arrive. They'll kind of look around. Place has got there's seating here. There's 12 tables, so there's seating for 40 odd people, and it's about half full. Busy, it's supper time. A lot of people. Particularly in this city, because the nightlife is so damn busy, there's an awful lot of folk who, particularly if you're near to the downtown, will just stop into a place like this, get some food, and then head out to whatever it is they're planning on doing for their evening. So a lot of P&Bs tend to make, particularly around here, tend to make decent bank around supper times. So Renamala will give a quick glance around, immediately kind of zero in on the group and kind of give a tap on the shoulder to Ranishi. Come on, this way. And head on over. Evening, she'll say. Again, so it's a bit of she's going to try in Confederate, as close as she can to the trade language. But again, bit of an accent. How's everyone? How's your day been?
Nice to see you again, Starlight. Who's the nerd?
My sister.
Yes.
We come
Renamala,
with babysitters now.
And 100% in Unlawful, Renee, she says, yes, I can see what you mean about them being the edgy one. The edgy world.
In Elven.
I'm translating from Quebecois right now.
I think I got dickhead.
In Elven, Chevalier says, have you been accurately describing us to your sister, Renamala?
Of course, I wouldn't want her surprised. You folks are absolutely fascinating. This is Lucas.
Do you want a seat?
Well,
Or a spot? I'm going to move everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
I'm grabbing a chair for Ranishi, and I'm going to clear a space so that Renamala can wheel up.
Pull up to the table. Yeah. So a little bit of chit chat, and then he maybe look disrespectfully. That's funny. All right. So so I think Renamala is going to do the quick go around the table just so Ranishi knows everyone's name. She's going to be obviously there's going to be a couple places where she obviously having troubles with names. She's met a few of these people like once for 5 minutes, long enough to yell at them about something, and that was about it. So so she's more going to be asking everyone, okay, just introduce yourselves, sort of thing, and please, the Great Origin Gawk. Oh gosh. So then Renamala will explain. So got word from Quidian well, what would be early your morning that apparently we're taking you folks on a walk.
Oh, he said yes.
I guess, she says. Are you expecting to go on a walk?
Well, we're requesting it. We weren't sure if it was.
I mean, we kind of did a whole job for him so that we could do this. It would be a little strange if he said no.
But it's not beyond him.
Renamala will giggle politely in whatever it is she's drinking, and say, "I wouldn't put much beyond Equidian, but."
Great. Well, I'm practically packed. So, when do we set off?
I think Reneshi will look at us as like,
well,
these lot?
She's just going to give you a kind of a glance at the corner of her eye and nod. So, well, that was just it. We had no idea how soon you'd be ready to leave, so we thought we'd pop by, do the introductions, so you'd know who, Renishi's going to be helping. We've got a bit of a hike. It's about 5 days to get you to the next step of the journey. And hoping it shouldn't be too much. If we get lucky, it shouldn't be too much of a problem at all. It should be largely boring.
Boring would be a nice change of pace.
It's going to be dangerous, though.
If it's not boring, then yes, it's dangerous. That's almost exactly how most places work, yes.
Good.
I think we just summed up Renamala. If it's not boring, it's dangerous.
So, why are you here?
Because Equidian told me to be.
No. Reneshi? Renishi?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, just where we're going to be traveling, and I know sometimes you folks have got troubles with the awkward names. Just call me Mala and Hershey.
Sometimes your awkward tongues don't work well with our names.
My tongue is not awkward.
It sounds it.
In
the best way, and she looks at her. She looks at her sister like, I made a boo boo already. And you
quick, airlift, get me out.
Mayday.
I'm gonna go and quietly get off the table and go getting some drinks.
And just because it's your older sister, she's intently slurping on her drink right now.
Looking at Renamala, just like, I like her. She's fun.
I simply mean to say that sometimes our names can be a little strange. You are Alexandri?
Yes.
Okay. It's nice to meet you.
And you too. Help. So you're coming to?
I assume that Equidian thinks that it is probably helpful to have two people who know what they're doing rather than four people who don't.
And you know what you're doing.
I think well enough.
Mm-hmm. One second.
Okay.
It's just Phoebe sipping in chat.
Yes, Phoebe. People do kiss.
For context, Phoebe plays with us for Good Society.
Oh, okay. Yes, Phoebe.
Great.
Right.
Well, I think
want to
this
kiss
is
in Good Society.
Don't tell.
This is when we
On a
all
scale
mac out
of
on the
zero
table.
to Good Society,
Mm-hmm.
where would you put this game?
I would say leaning closer to Good Society depending on the day.
We do change genre pretty much every session.
We genre jump a lot. So, Phoebes, I don't know, maybe. It's just a matter of time. You kind of got to wait. It's like Good Society, except more unfulfilled.
I'm just going to say, I think the best way I can explain it to you, I think the best way I can explain it to you, Phoebe, is that earlier on there was a discussion involving lionesses, Lucas, Alexandri, and milkshakes. So just nod yes a lot.
Many lions come to the yard.
My milkshake brings all the lions to the yard.
Well, but the awkward thing was it was Spider's milkshake, see?
Spider's milkshake?
It's a spider.
As
just soda.
As delivered
soda
by
and...
Lucas, or no, the other way around. Anyway. So, yeah.
Lucas's milkshakes?
Lucas drinks all the milkshake brings Lucas to the yard, really. That's kind of what it is at the end of the day.
I wish I had a straw in this moment, just so I could slurp the end of this bottle of water for you. Loudly into the mic.
All right.
Nadine, that is the challenge. Yes. You need to find a reason to kiss every one of us.
It's just my challenge every single time I'm a guest.
How many PCs can you come
in people's houses?
I was about to say, you're such a good dinner buddy.
I am the dinner and the entertainment. So
I just don't have anything safe to say there. So yeah, back to the story.
Terms and services. Oh my goodness, we don't have a hidden ad. Sorry, Phoebe. There is no hidden ad.
Yes, it is. What's a milkshake brand? Quick.
Oak.
Oak. Welcome to Oak.
I genuinely thought you said Coke, and I was like, Drew, honey, what?
Coke milkshakes.
Jen and berries, off-brand.
I'm just gonna say,
Coca-Cola certainly owns one of the milk companies. So.
If it's got Coke in it, we call over here in Canada we call that a float. So,
funnily enough, here we call it a spider.
Spider. Yeah.
Hey.
So if you need to drink one of those,
sponsored by Lime Spiders. There you go.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Renishi,
Mm-hmm.
your eyes are fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
With that, she'll definitely just kind of look down and feels very awkward about it.
I'm sorry, that was a faux pas.
Well,
no,
I'm just going to say, Renamala is going to rub at her forehead for a moment. She's clearly amused. I think you're the first person who's ever noticed. I mean, I've been traveling. Well, she's my sister. I mean, I don't know how long how. Oh my gosh, I never noticed.
And as Mala's speaking, she's just going to cover her mouth and be like, it's fine. Thank you. I know it's a little, I appreciate it. Was it a compliment? I'm not quite sure.
He doesn't have a meal to hide the laughter, so he's just chuckling pretty openly.
Is this Chevalier? I imagine Chevalier's laughter is ha, 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 ha.
It's not...
Initiate laughter.exe.
I imagine it being kind of like the speech where it's not just monotone, it's just the cadence is weird.
Yeah.
Is it like when Siri laughs and it's like,
maybe? I don't...
Maybe what is it, Genevieve, when she did her glitchy thing on you, initiate laughter just causes your shoulder to explode.
Shoulder cannons the restaurant. Oh, that's how we do it. Beck laughing.
We'd have seen that then.
Something killing joke, yeah. All right.
That was. I'm sorry. That was intended as a compliment.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
If we're all done flirting,
do you want to have a go, Jasper?
We haven't started.
I think Mala, words.
Mala is going to be giggling in her drink again. So when are you folks going to be ready to leave? I mean, I understand he's always anxious to go somewhere, but gesturing at Lucas.
Well, we tried to get some provisions today, but it would be, if there's anything you recommend that we should procure before we leave, not having been to this place myself.
Yeah. Maul is going to pause for a moment. Well, you're adventurers. You've obviously already got a good set of walking shoes. You've probably all got a light source. It can be you don't really understand darkness until you've stood in a cave. If you're old adventurers, I'm sure you've stood in a cave, so you know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, as long as you've got a light source for you, just in case you wind up getting separated away from she and I. And then, but most of the time we should be down there. Shouldn't, and for lack of a better way of putting it, anything you'd use for overland travel up here.
How many
Also,
days did you say it would take?
If all goes well, we'll be to the first major stopping point in about 5 days.
And then beyond that?
Another week, maybe. Depends.
What?
How well the person taking you from there knows the route.
You're not coming the whole way.
It might be, but specifically what Quidian has asked she and I to get you to get you to the crossroads. And then because I don't know the way from there, he's supposed to have arranged for someone who does know the way to get you the rest of the distance. We haven't been told we're going any further than that.
I haven't been told much of anything.
Well, we're all seems that we're all in the unknown.
Oh, I mean, Renamal is going to glance over at Renishi and kind of, it's the usual. We're not going to be doing anything it's not like we're wandering off into a hive or something. It should be pretty good. It should be an absolutely boring trip.
Oh, now you've done it.
I thought you were going to take us Velbladrun hunting. Well,
I'm just going to say she perks up. We could.
works for me.
I
No.
don't think that's a good idea.
Oh,
No.
that sounds like an excellent idea.
No.
Where's your sense of adventure?
In my head, singing.
I think at that, she will just look at Marla like, what?
All Maul is going to say is, told you.
Well, then, I suppose we are ready to leave at your discretion.
Okay.
I mean,
Unless
we have
any
paid
of
for the
you
night.
have reasons to stay in the city any longer than.
Literally, we're here to tell you folks what's up, and find out what your timetable is. We can go anytime this evening, I suppose. Up until dawn, and then. If tonight doesn't work well for you, because I know, you've already had a full day, probably living the sunlit life, day hawks and all that. We can come back tomorrow evening for you. Just give you folks a chance to get some sleep over the course of the day tomorrow.
Well, I'm ready.
Ready.
I'm ready.
Well, I guess we're going now. All right. Not a little unexpected. I didn't. Oh, yeah, but let's go. So go get your things, and we'll be on our way.
Great.
Particularly appeal to stick around in a city full of bounty hunters looking for you. So,
all Maul is going to do is grin at Spider and say, "Where's your sense of adventure?"
and diagonal cut.
Lucas is going to quickly go to when he's packing up all his gear.
Yeah.
If he goes upstairs, scribble down a note to hand to the person at the bar. And just going to say, deliver this to. I don't know the estate, but it would be the place where Lancium lives.
Yep.
That household.
Yeah.
And the note pretty much just says, got to run. Catch up when I get back. Duel is in order.
Okay.
Sword
Claim
fighting.
that kiss again.
Sword fighting. Yeah.
The sword fighting.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And then everybody makes out at the bar.
So yes, Devara is the dwarf who owns the place.
Devar.
Yeah. So she'll kind of look at it, and if I see him, I'll get this out with one of the runner lads first thing in the morning. There's usually one begging around the front door for a couple of copper.
Thank you.
No
Good.
problem.
And I'm
during
going to
the-
slip them a coin.
During the day, could Alexandria have sent a letter
Can't see why not.
home?
Yeah.
Cool. I'll get that to you.
Sure. Okay. Anything Chevalier's up to before grand departure?
I don't think so.
Okay.
The only thing I had coming up was the potential meeting with the droid, but that was like condition on like him actually being there.
Yeah.
And if the option to leave came up, he was going to take that instead.
Okay.
So given that we can leave sooner, he's just going to leave.
All right. What about Spotter? Anything in particular?
Just make sure all the gear's in order, and I would have spent some of that conversation actually just looking over Redamala's saddlebags from a distance, and if there was anything that I went, oh yeah, that's something we should have that we definitely don't have, I might procure it quickly, but like it's not important story-wise. Adventuring gear checks.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think probably the biggest single thing that you'd notice is that she literally has got a bandolier of ghost fire. Which is a tactic. I mean, ghost fire literally, essentially, magic napalm. So the fact that she carries a bandolier of 6 of these vials is kind of but beyond that, all right. So you guys all gather together at the back down the front room with your traveling gear and everything else in hand, and head out.
We said we got potions of healing for everyone, right?
Yes. Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah. So I'm willing to say that
It's minor healing.
Yes, the minor
Potions
healings, because
of
those are
minor
I think they're wealth level 1. So yeah, it's dirt cheap, no issues. So keep in mind that you can have 20 things down, 20 pieces of notable equipment. Things like, do you have rope? Yes. Do you have a grapple to go with the rope? Yes. That is literally one line on your equipment sheet marked adventuring gear. It's special stuff that has a direct in-game effect. Things like magic sword, magic armor, anything that's particularly bulky, carrying a coffin. Those things get noted down on your sheet. Well, some people have to do these things. It's a pain in the ass if you're a vampire.
Is it the world's smallest coffin?
Well, I'm only carrying a
Look,
part of
it's
it.
very sad.
So yeah,
for a gerbil.
So if you're going to have 3 potions, if you're going to have 3 potions on your sheet, then you have 3 potions. If you have 1 potion written down, then you have 1. So, but that's the catch, is, like I say, 20 pieces of notable equipment is the limit. All right. The game does that because accounting's crap and gets in the way of gaming and stories. All right, so Ranishi and Renamala will be retracing their steps from earlier in the evening. It's now completely dark. The city's usually very busy nightlife is spinning up. Brilliant starlit night. I think Spider will notice that. I'm just going to say that Ranishi and Renamala tend to stare at the ground as opposed to up, or pull their hoods forward to eclipse the high view.
Alexandri takes that as like being stealthy and is like, yeah, that's a really good idea.
Clank, clank.
Yes, I'm being stealthy with an armored attack walker.
Isn't that how it's done?
Yeah. Traditionally, no. But
I mean, I bring mine too, so
It's called a distraction.
Everyone look at him while I'm sneaking over here.
It's the hands that
gerbil
make
sneak. So yes. So yeah, you guys will wind up making your way over in the direction of the quote industrial district. Yeah. The lighting here is peculiar. It's the all harsh. It's harsh purples. It's really odd, dark colors. I think now that everybody else, that the 4 of you have seen Ebonelf artwork, I think you're going to all collectively realize this is a light palette, which is very very compatible with Ebonelf eyes. It's not great for human eyes, but you can imagine that it would be very good for Ebonelf eyes. Spider, do me a favor real quick, and I'm gonna ask you where to go. I think it's going to be a logic. Make a perception roll followed by a logic roll, if you'd be so kind.
And then a logic?
Yeah. The perception check is you have your floor of 16 automatically.
It was 26.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Because I exploded the D8.
Wonderful.
Oh.
Wonderful.
Oh, and we've got an exploding 6 here, which
nice.
is also 26.
All right. Yeah. About that. So this may be, quote, the industrial district, but it's also Skonhovier, literally skin merchant.
Yeah.
A lot of the buildings closest to the road are obviously the kind of places that you wouldn't want near civilized people. Tanneries, butchers, glue factories, blacksmith, all of these places which generate either a lot of noise or a lot of smell. But I think what Spider's going to be very aware of is the buildings behind those front row of buildings are all amusingly lacking bottom windows on the bottom floors, armored doors, odd lighting, usually some burly-looking lad standing, apparently just having a cigarette just a little bit away from the door. But yeah, you've seen this scene before. Those are literally those are a couple of those buildings are absolutely slave shacks.
If I recall correctly, slavery is not technically legal, but no, it's not legal, but it is technically legal.
All right, so
in the sense that indentured servitude is like...
Yes, slavery in the Confederacy is absolutely legal. Indentured servitude is legal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because
it doesn't make any sense, but it makes sense to the setting.
You are forced into slavery. You agree to indentured servitude.
Sure.
Everyone nod yes. Hey, Weretag, thank you very much. So yeah, it's one of those places where the laws of the Confederacy generate some side eye.
Yeah, I think like as we're walking, I'll sidle up, probably next to Renishi, and I say, "Oh, lovely neighbors you've got here."
This is Skyside.
Indeed. So you're some sort of magician, are you?
You could say that, yes.
Good. We've needed one of those. You know what you're doing, right? You're not just making it up as you go.
Aren't we all?
Can do magic?
I definitely not in your earshot when I say this.
Yeah.
You sure?
I was going to say, I think in point of fact that when Spider drops back to chat with Renishi, Renamala will wander up towards Lucas and Alexandri and begin yakking very loudly about nothing of particular interest. So how have things been the past few days? What have you been up to? Blah, 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 blah. No, you can't hear a farking thing. So you two continue chatting.
Nothing you are saying is of particular interest. Why are you saying these things? They seem very distracting.
So, yeah, Spider and Ishi, keep going.
Yeah. No.
You don't make things up as you go along?
Oh, well, I certainly do, but I don't do magic because usually that ends up with things blowing up or people inverting or,
It sounds like you're very bad at it.
No, I don't do the magic. Alexandra does the magic, but she doesn't know what she's doing.
She inverts people?
She makes their insides their outsides. Sometimes.
So she is either very good or very bad.
She's also literally transported me to my worst nightmare.
That's pretty impressive.
It was an accident, and she didn't know how she did it or if she did it, but she did.
How much of what you know is actual fact?
About magic?
It just seems like you're doing a lot of guesswork with everything.
Right. It's called deductive thinking.
Yes. So what is it that you can do properly?
I can do.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
this is a lot of time you're taking.
I do the deductive thinking thing.
Right. You're very good at it.
I mean, I can also literally walk up walls. If
That's pretty cool. Impressive.
Yeah. It just like speeds up a little bit.
That was watching someone try to convince, like, I'm cool. I can do things.
I do like starting with I don't do magic and ending with I can literally walk up walls.
I mean,
What a journey.
That's a skill. I practiced.
I practiced. Excuse me.
I can
Practice like defying gravity. That's not how that works. I'm not suddenly going to be able to walk up a wall just because I practice. I will continue to fall because physics exists.
What's that Simpsons quote when Lisa, she becomes friends with that really smart girl where they take anagrams of people and create qualities of those people, and when she can't do one, they're like, here is a ball. You can bounce it.
It's going to happen at one point. She is 100% going to give Spider a ball and be like, here you go. I thought you might find this fun.
They can stay.
Yeah. Thank you.
This is great because Alexandria's only gonna Alexandria only sounds cooler now that apparently she can turn people inside out and transport them to their worst nightmare. Like she only sounds more edgelord than the edgelord.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
it's the bit that you do it on accident. That's the key. That's the key piece of information.
Turn inside out. What are you referencing? Because I'm struggling.
That's Spider's perspective on some really,
So it's a lie.
No, it's a. I mean, you
It's
literally did the
deductive
same.
thinking.
You did just do that to Lucas.
No, I grew him new organs. They're inside his body. I didn't.
You made
them
him
out.
throw up his kidney,
His lungs,
whatever.
His stomach came out his butt.
This,
There's
ladies and
new ones
gentlemen,
in
is the
there.
high quality programming you're here for.
Just, gotta be accurate.
And you've
That's not turning people inside out. If I remove someone's organ, I haven't turned them inside out. I've removed an organ.
His entrails are now his extrails.
But he's not inside out. He is still him. He's just had a bit removed, albeit immediately
It's
replaced.
called embellishment for the story, okay?
She also burned people alive, and that did happen.
Phoebe.
Just once.
So we've actually technically started chapter 3, if you will. So yes, there's a chunk of interesting that's gone on. So yeah. So you folks will make your way to a otherwise unremarkable shack that doesn't have a sign on it, is kind of poorly lit, but has a pretty imposing sort of fence. And there's what seems to be, Spider recognizes him exactly for what he is. He's a professional assassin. But in this case, he's a bored beggar sitting sitting across the street.
Does he look like he's guarding the place?
Oh, he's absolutely
guarding.
He's absolutely
right.
guarding.
He's not looking out for us and about to try and assassinate us.
No. So he basically, I think you find most interesting is that just because of the position of the group initially, is he as you guys are approaching, he's doing the lunatic mutter. Going on about the end of the world and give me 20 cents and it'll stave off things for another, and he's ranting at the top of his lungs. He's going on.
I flick him a coin.
Yeah.
And give him the appropriate level of wink/thieves cant.
Yeah.
Just going, nice job.
What color of Oni mask is he wearing?
Oh yeah.
No, he straight up looks like he has not probably seen the inside of a bathhouse in the past quarter lifetime.
That's commitment.
But I mean, Spider can tell his own makeup.
Yeah.
And so
I did that course as well.
Yeah, exactly. So for lack of a better way of putting it,
That's
like
cool.
Wait, I can do makeup as well.
I'm edgy. I'm edgy.
Costuming.
So yeah, but
You should see my eyeliner.
At technical school, there was it was a special credit course. All right.
I went to theater
Look at my
camp.
brush set.
Yeah,
I
you
have
got an
12
award for
different
that.
rounds.
I was there. I remember seeing your presentation. It was very good, Spider. You looked amazing.
But yeah, to Spider at least, it's very obvious. This guy is doing the raving doom monger in the back left corner of nowhere that no one would pay attention to just because he is going off like a raving lunatic, which is exactly like most people, I think, without realizing what it is they're seeing, immediately write him off as a raving lunatic and start doing the cross to the other side of the street thing, etc., etc. But yeah, I think Spider has probably seen a variation on this, probably in Shining Capital before. No, this guy is an incredibly talented professional whose singular job is to keep an eye on who's coming up and down this street and make sure some people apparently don't make it to the door. So yeah, but for lack of a better way of putting it, his ranting decreases in cadence and volume substantially once he realizes there's a couple of ebon elves with you. And yeah, when you throw the coin to him in a little bit of thieves' cant, he will very loudly say, "And you have been spared," and rant on for another moment or two. But yeah, there's a little bit of, "Oh, nice catch. Good to meet somebody else who knows the job." Is sort of interspersed in the whole thing. Yeah. Good to be appreciated, sort of thing. And yeah, so you guys will go into this this shack. Which again, the outside looks probably like it's been burned, repaired with tinfoil and a little bit of lager, and left pretty much as is. Yes, you heard me correctly. But inside is in a remarkably good state of repair. It looks pretty much brand new. There's a bunch of boxes and stuff being schlepped around. There's probably a dozen or so folk in here doing a variety of things, and Renishi will have, if not know most of them, have met most of them once. They're just the night crew. There's a constant stream of stuff moving up and down the elevator all night. So yeah, goods, people, etc., etc. So yeah, you guys will get Renamala will be saying hello to folks. Grumpy dwarf is still grumpy. He's on his third mug of something that smells absolutely pickled and obnoxious, and that hasn't improved his mood at all. Right, get on the platform. We got work to do. I don't want to be. Come on, get moving. We got another run to do. Renamala will look at him and says, "You can relax. Genuinely, you can relax." All right, everybody on, she says. And she's basically gesturing at a large chunk of floor that's got a railing around it, which has got a pile of gears and wheels and other things sitting beside it, but otherwise looks like looks like a chunk of floor with a railing around it. And the grumpy dwarf grumples some more in Dwarven, opens the gate. Yeah, come on, move.
Hey, look at Lucas. Adventure time, brother.
Absolutely.
Renishi, you know this trick. Sit down.
She's taken a spot next to her sister and kind of like back up against the one of her wheels. Yeah,
Renamala rolls to about the 3/4 position on at one part of the floor, locks the wheel on her chair, kind of sits back. What are you four doing?
Smiling.
The other three and saying, "So, are we ready to go into the unknown?"
I think we already agreed.
I've already left Shining Capital. Everything is unknown.
Are you trying to make this an important moment, Chevalier?
Dang, it's not.
Can I use Whisperer of the Wild?
Sure.
I would like to ask La Chanson, will Genevieve be able to find us in the Underworld?
Yes.
I figured, but it's nice to know the answer.
Come on, everyone, let's get on the elevator.
How would we know what that is?
I'm just going to say, I mean, I suppose Lucas can make a logic check to figure out what it is he's looking at. But literally, it just looks like a piece of floor that has a guardrail around it. It doesn't.
Great.
Yeah.
I'll do a logic check because that was a 17.
Yeah, I think at this point, for lack of a better way of putting it, I think what gives it away is the gear work. Lucas has seen industrial mines before. He knows that kind of pile of gear is usually associated with a mine shaft. Since there's no mining carts here, there's probably only one other thing that it does.
I know things.
Alexandri just walks over to the platform. She does not respond to that sentence.
If Renishi is sitting down, I am also going to sit down somewhere near a railing.
Sure thing.
Alexandri stands.
Okay.
Renishi would look over at Alexandria and be like, we're going to be doing a lot of walking. Save your feet.
Is the floor clean?
Oh, yeah.
I'll put my pack down and sit on my pack.
Okay.
And then in Ebenelf, I think Renishi would say, I think I know which one is going to be the most trouble on our journey.
Renamala smiles. Yes.
That Chevalier.
The giant clanking war machine.
All right. Here we go. Remember, don't try. If you stumble, don't try and stop yourselves on the wall. And he just grabs onto a lever and pulls. And it becomes very obvious to everyone else why it is Renishi is sitting down. Because the platform drops at slightly more initially than 1G. It literally falls out.
The Tower of Terror.
It literally falls out from under you for the first foot. So if you hadn't been standing, that would have been bloody, literally feet off the ground for a moment, and then kept trying to catch up all the way down.
So I was imagining I was standing. Is that a problem?
Well, it depends. What's your coordination?
It's not bad.
I'm
more also like twice as heavy as most. Like I think I weigh more than Lucas and Jasper put together.
Your agility. Just curiosity.
Just like landing back down again. I'm more worried about the structural integrity.
Out of amusement, roll agility just to see if we wind up with an absurdly low roll.
Ooh. Now, does a 3 count as absurdly low?
That is absurdly low, yes.
Yes.
It is one above minimum roll.
It very much is, yes.
Is this where Chevalier's security system goes off and we all die?
Is Alexandri casting heal immediately?
Right. So what did you say your toughness is?
Toughness is 19.
19. Yeah, all right. So I think what's going to happen, and what's your might?
5.
Okay, yeah, you get a ridiculous might stat, right? So I think what's going to happen is you are literally going to have lost your balance for a moment. As like I say, this thing goes chunk. Yeah, it literally the floor just drops out from under you for that moment. It's not quite the Wile E. Coyote moment of looking down going, I've just made a mistake. But, yeah, you're going to wind up catching up. And of course, what happens is, because it's a counterweighted mechanism, the platform drops before the rope comes to tension for the counterweight to start slowing things down. So then the floor drops very rapidly and then slows down while you're in the process of catching up with the floor. So the good news is you're sufficiently strong and sufficiently agile generally that you're able basically to latch onto one of the stanchions. It turns out the railing is part of the platform, and stop yourself from basically tumbling over, because pretty much in the time it takes you to go, oh dear, you're looking at a sheet of rock that is screeching past you at about 5 meters per second. And suddenly the dwarf's comment about don't try and brace yourself against the wall makes much more sense. You would take damage. A human being would get shaved back to the elbow.
Just a section missing from the faceplate.
A few scrapes down the side, yeah.
Alexandri strokes it slightly. It's just like a flower now.
Looks at his arm. Just starts over the next 10 minutes. Just starts fixing itself.
Yep. I think he lets. I think Renamala, and by the way, there's a fair amount of noise going on because there's air rushing past. It's basically a smooth cut shaft straight down through the rock keep in mind this town. The reason it's there is because the hill it's sitting on is basically it's a volcanic extrusion. Right, it's a block of damn near solid basalt. It's one of the only reasons that the ebb and flood season hasn't scoured the place away. And then they've reinforced that with the equivalent of using earth elementals and magic concrete. So, to square it off and tidy it up, as the Confederacy is prone to doing. They like their nice corners and things like that. So, there's almost 300 meters that you guys go zooming down through. That's just this solid, heavy, dark basalt. And it's dark. Because as soon as the lift drops down maybe a dozen meters, a set of doors go above you. And you can hear the clatter, 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 clatter running of the chain. It's a heavy chain system with a pair of winches basically counter running. So that's what's lowering and raising this thing. Tremendous amount of noise, tremendous amount of sound, and it's absolutely black. So what are you all thinking at this point?
Amazing.
The question of, hey, I've never really questioned whether or not I'm scared of small dark spaces, but
Oops.
Fun moment to discover your claustrophobia and fear of the dark.
Yeah.
Ryan's spider of being in the sewer system of the Shining Capital. It's like going underground is a professional hazard.
Yeah. A reminder that Ebon Elf eyes glow in the dark. So at this point, your only actual ambient light sources are the periodic glancing around of Renamala and Renishi. You can all decide if that's disconcerting or not.
it's disconcerting enough that Alexandra is just going to be like, can I create some light, please?
I think she will kind of go, it's like just a deep, long sigh, because essentially what she was thinking as they were traveling down was like when you have a migraine and you go to bed and you switch the light off and you're like, yay. And then someone going, can I put the nightlight on? And you're like,
I'm just going to say, I think both Renamala and Renishi are going to make the same sigh at exactly the same moment.
If you must.
A request, though.
25.
Okay.
Alexandria's afraid.
Renamala will make a request. Just do me a favor and don't make it really bright yellow. Just try and keep it towards the violet or the blue tone or the red tones.
So, okay, what's going to happen is huge white flash, and then she realizes exactly what was said and turns it into sort of a, like those neon blue.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And she turns it into that.
Okay.
So really bright, then...
So you'll see, oh!
I'm just going to say there's going to be an ow moment from the two Ebon Elves.
So do you now have a neon underglow like you're a car from Need for Speed?
It's not under my body.
Neon overglow?
Yes. I'm just going to say Alexandria is slightly glowing. Just in general. Just everything. Just gently glow.
Ground effects, yes.
Yeah.
All right. So it's 5 minutes of steady descent down this shaft into the darkness. When it begins to slow down pretty noticeably, actually. and drops through the roof of a cavern, and lowers almost, you'd say, 6 heights of a person down to the floor of the cavern. The cavern is the size of a football stadium.
How long was the descent again?
About 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
You've gone a few kilometers down, just for perspective. And yes, you're in this, like I say, this huge cavern, about the size of a football stadium. It's not really lit, except that it is. What you're looking at is everywhere are these little purple or reddish wayposts, if you will. So you can tell where crossroads are, where transit lines are, where things are moving around, because there's a little dot of light there. To your eyes, it's all very dim. 15 meters per second is is literally 1.5 Gs. You're actually free falling at that point, so it's got to be less than that. It's probably close to 5 or 6 meters per second. But yeah, exactly. Great mustache. It's a ways. That 15 meters per second that would be acceleration. Yeah, so 15 meters per second after standardizing. Yes, that's about right. Yeah. Sorry, I did the math wrong. So yes, you're going to be, a couple of kilometers down at least, you would guess, possibly more. And there's going to be an awful lot of ebon elves who are standing around, various shapes, sizes, colors, eye colors, hair colors. Given that you've only really met a few of them and they all roughly looked alike, this is sort of just sort of like being dropped off in the main plaza of Constantinople without warning. And I think everyone is going to recognize someone else, if you will. Oh, Spider's going to see the couple of, quote, dock workers who are just in the process of loading a pallet worth of gear up. And these guys, Chevalier is going to see the obvious guardsman who's keeping an eye on for something. Lucas is going to see the obvious leader who's giving orders and instructing people and blah, blah. And Alexandri will be very familiar with the 3 women who are standing off in a corner and administrating, coordinating. They all look nothing like you, but they're obviously all doing jobs you're familiar with. All right. And that's where we're going to leave it for today, folks. We will pick up from here next week, and the adventure into the Underdark begins. So, as I said before, if you've got anything particular your characters want to see, let me know so I can make sure I have the content prepped. Otherwise, I have ideas to inflict upon you. Bring out. And, yeah. So,
we're definitely hunting a vampire, right?
I'm just going to say...
Hunted by...
No, a vampire's definitely hunting us. Why would you say this?
Hunting, kissing, same thing. Let's go.
They're hunting for.
Look.
It's up to debate.
Ooh, good point.
So, let's. So as usual, we'll say our goodbyes. We'll give Nadine the opportunity to go last after she's heard everybody else. So yeah, Drew, give us say your goodbyes and where to find you, please.
My name is Drew. You can find me on Twitter at Drew Wilson. I'm an actor, a puppeteer, a writer. See you next week. Can't wait to get into the Underwelt.
Chantel.
Hey, I'm gonna just maybe read something about me from chat. I'm an actor, writer, game designer, streamer, and psychologist. I spend much of my time on Twitter at Chantel B, or philosophizing and writing on my site, wordswithcolor.com. I'm currently recording podcasts for 2 new game systems. And one of them is Shrike Tabletop, and one of them is Penflower Inc. And I am also one of the writers on a new game called Omens Rising. I also play in a fully cosplayed stream, The Falkenstein Affair, bi-weekly, which means this week we will be playing at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Action_Fiction. Also, maybe some more Good Society, maybe. Nadine, please.
I'm
want to
trying
play more now.
I'm trying.
More kisses.
All right.
More
Sam.
kisses. Any kisses. One.
Some
would be
kisses.
great.
Just kisses, please. I need
Unless
one
zero
in
amount
a
of kisses.
game.
A game.
Just one.
Right.
Hi, I'm Sam. You can find me on Twitter at @the_RealSamP. I'm a voice actor and performer from Brisbane. I'm also going to be on the Shrike Tabletop podcast. So that's exciting because I think that's, is it next week? It's next week that we're going to be recording our first episode. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But otherwise, yeah, excited to go into this next stage.
Yeah, all right then.
Which is important, Drew.
Jamie.
Well, that's me. I'm Jamie Collette. You can find me on Twitter at Muffin Manifesto or on my website, www.jamie-collette.com. I'm a professional voice actor and director. You can also see me on Know Your Roles campaign of Blades in the Dark at 2 p.m. EST on twitch.tv/Raktus, Raktus. And you can see some of the shows I've directed and been in on streamedshakespeare.com. And Chanson has just reminded me with her comment about Omens Rising that I should probably put something in my blurb about the game I'm designing. It's a Viking community game called Shields in the Wall, and it's fun.
Ooh, okay. I'm looking forward to that. All right.
Oh, me.
Yeah.
Me?
You're up, Nadine.
Okay, yes, I'm Nadine. I've been playing this really cool character, which I'm so excited to get into and understand what the fuck their accent is.
It's great so far.
And I'm so excited to be playing with you, amazing people. You are all so cool. Whatever. And I am a voice actor. I am a Twitch streamer occasionally, and a tired person in general. But you can find some of my podcasts that I am in just on my Twitter, which is NE_actor, the same as my Twitch. And I'm actually in a podcast with Phoebe, who's in the chat right now, and they're releasing episodes of season 2. Which I am in, and Phoebe's in as well. And I occasionally, whenever I am lucky enough to, play with Shawnee and Phoebe in a Good Society game, which hopefully maybe we'll be playing next week. And I just make games so that I can kiss my friends in real life. And just,
isn't that just a game? I thought that was just games. No?
Yeah.
I've been playing Monopoly badly.
or
I've played
exactly
Monopoly
how
before.
it's
You've been
intended.
playing Monopoly well. You may have made Monopoly fun, and that's not easy.
Yeah. As someone who's done actual historical research into the Viking period, the pop culture Viking thing drives me bats. So I'm looking forward to seeing your take on it.
It's
right.
the work in progress.
Yeah. All right then, and I of course am Michel Vaillancourt. You can catch up with me on Twitter, MichelV69, where I talk about a combination of Canadian politics and my stilted opinions about gaming. Yeah. I'm also getting back into doing my regular streams at least weekly. You can catch up with me over on 902PE Gaming. Excuse me. That's awkward. Excuse me. So yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. I really like the fact that we basically had no real problems. So for posterity, by the way, over the entire width of the show, we've had 28 dropped frames. 28. Not 280, not 28%, 28. That is stunningly different.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Obviously enough, there's a few things we're going to be tweaking and such with the look and feel of the place, but we're getting there. If you're catching us on the VOD later on, thank you for your time as well. We deeply appreciate it. As always, feel free to drop us a line. Let us know what you think. You can catch us up with us individually on our various Twitter accounts, and of course, we've got our YouTube channel, Lost Worlds Archive. All right, that's it for us for this week. We will see you in a week's time when we've got a lot more to do and the lights go out. All the best. Bye-bye.